Hi, this is Destiny from Desphixs and welcome back to another video in the HMS system using Django. In this one, we're going to go ahead and start working with Stripe payments. That is what we'll be doing. Hopefully you will enjoy the video and learn something new. So let's get started. So before we start creating the checkout session for Stripe, the first thing that I want to do will be to go ahead and configure environment variables here in Django. Make sure to make reference to the requirements.txt if you have the source code, and install this file or this package called environs. So all you need to do is run pip install environs, and okay, that should be pi-m pip install environs, and that should go ahead and install the package called environs for you. Since I already have this, it says requirements already satisfied, so I don't need to reinstall it again. After installing that, you want to import from environ, import env, and then we want to go ahead and initialize the env. I'll say env by setting a variable env. Then we can now read env, which means that whenever we now create a file here, let's say I want to create a new file here called .env, and we pass in an environment or a variable here, for example, stripe secret key, and over here we pass in the stripe secret key, just a random number for now. That means in the settings, when we get down to somewhere here and actually call from that environment variable, we will then be able to get the secret key, which means we can now say something like define a variable called stripe secret key and say this should be equal to env, then call the name of the key that holds the secret key here, which means we can now use this in anywhere in our application to actually get the secret key. So now that this is done, I want to open up the hotel views py, and just down here I will create a new function, and this one will be the checkout session. So I will say csrf underscore exempt. We need to import this. We can actually import this from Django.views at the top, from Django.views.decorators.csrf. we need to import csrf exempt. So over here now, we can pass in a new view that will be called checkout sessions. So we can also define create checkout session. All right. And over here, you should take in requests and also booking ID as its parameters. Then for now, the first thing that we'll need to do is fetch the booking based on the booking ID. So booking should be equal to booking.objects.get, where the booking ID is the same as the booking ID that was passed in here to the function. Now that we have that, let's get our Stripe API key. Install an app called pip install stripe. Okay, so after running pip install stripe, it should get installed on your system. Then you need to instantiate Stripe. Firstly, import it at the top. Somewhere here, you could just say import Stripe, just like that. And now, let's say stripe.api key should be equal to settings dot, then what did we call that? Stripe secret key. So this is how to actually get it without physically putting the key in here. I hope that makes sense. But we need to import from django.conf import settings. Okay, just like this. And after we've done this, you can now see that that should work well as expected here. Okay, the next thing is to go ahead and create the checkout session. So I'll say checkout underscore session, which is just a variable that I came up with, should be equal to stripe dot checkout dot session dot create. So this is how to create a new checkout session in Stripe. It requires customer email, which in our case will be booking.email. So did you see why we actually fetched the booking now, so that we can grab some information from it? It also needs a payment underscore method underscore types. For now, we just want to use only card. You can pass in Apple Pay, you can pass in PayPal, and pretty much any of those if you want to be able to pay with PayPal on Stripe. Now it needs line items. The very first thing that we will be passing in here in the dictionary will be price data, which will pretty much specify the price data that we want. For example, the currency should be USD. You could pass in Euro or GBD, Great Britain pounds if you want. And also the product underscore data should be in a dictionary. Now this is where we have to pass in things like name, the name of the user that's making the payment. In our case, booking.fullname. All right. So after you've done that, then down here we need unit underscore amount. That should be int, and over here we should have booking.total times 100. So this is how to actually do your calculations in Stripe for payment. Get your total divided by 100 before sending it to Stripe in unit amounts, because that's what they require. And below here, pass in quantity. Just make it to be a default of 1. Okay, just 1 like that is enough for now for this type of payments that we are trying to make. So after you've done all this, that's pretty much it. Down here below the line items, the mode of this should be payment. If for any reason you're trying to create a subscription, then this should be subscription. Okay, by the way, if you guys are interested in seeing a subscription model using Django, then you can actually drop a comment and I'll start looking into making such tutorial, maybe like a video subscription model like Netflix. So we also need a success URL. This one should be request.absolute that should be build absolute, which is build absolute URI, I believe. Yep. And we want to reverse, which means we need to import reverse somewhere at the top from Django.urls. So all the way at the top from Django.urls, import reverse. Then down here, where are we reversing to? We want to reverse to the success page, which we don't have yet, but we will create that later. So the page will be called success, and the parameters that it will take will be these. Arguments will be booking.booking ID for number 1. And what else will it need? Just hold on a sec. Let me see. We've got 1, 2. So over here, how about I have +1? So request.build absolute URI +1. Is that actually right? I think so. So over here, we can now pass in things like the session ID, the success ID, just like we did for the Stripe. So I will say in, you can actually do this in an F-formatted string if you want, but let me just do it in double quotes. So session underscore ID should be what? Checkout underscore session underscore ID. This is coming directly from Stripe, okay? Because as you can see right now, we are still obviously in Stripe. So the next thing that we need after this is, let me change this to word wrap so that we can see everything on one line, okay? So after this, I will say, and success underscore ID should be equal to, then we'll need to pass in the success ID here, which is pretty much booking dot success ID. And what else do we need? I think I need the booking total. So booking total, just like I sent also in PayPal, should be booking dot total. But please wrap this in an str so it converts it to a string, or else we will have a bug. So after you've done this, that's it for the success URL. This page also requires a cancel URL in case the payments did not go through and the user canceled halfway. So what page do we want to return them to? Request.build absolute URI, and we also want to reverse to a page that will be called hotel field. Okay, and ags for this one should be the same thing as this. So you could just grab this. Ags should be this. Okay, the same place, no issues. All right, after you've done this, that is pretty much what we want. We seem to be having, okay, there you go, it's working as expected. So that's the cancel URL, that's the success URL. After that, guys, we are pretty much done. Let's just go ahead and say booking.payment status should be set to processing. Please hold on, let me confirm that. So payment status, we have processing here as one of the keys. So processing, just like that. And also booking.stripe payment intent should be checkout session. Then we grab the ID of the checkout session. And now let's save the booking model. So booking, I'll save, as simple as that. Now, if you want, you could go ahead and print you can print the checkout session if you want to see more data there. Print the checkout session. That one is totally up to you. Then we need to return a JSON response, which means we need to import JSON response from Django.http import JSON response. Then down here, what do we want to send? Session underscore, or let's just say session ID, just like that, should be checkout session.id. So this is the data that we will send back to the front end. Now the front end will make use of this checkout session ID to know how much to add to the PayPal, not PayPal, to know how much to add to the Stripe hosted payments page. Okay, don't worry, we will start working with that in a bit. After you've done this, that is pretty much what you want to do. Open up the URLs and you want to register this in the URLs. I don't know what you want to call yours, but down here, I will just make mine payment routes. And I will say part. And whenever we come over to API/create checkout session, I want to be able to get the view for create checkout session. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And let's also create a name for it. It's not compulsory, but let's just create a name. I will say API underscore checkout session. Okay, just like that. And for now, that's pretty much it. We also need to create some pages for the success URL and the failed URL. If you don't, it's gonna throw a bug. So create a new payment underscore success page. Just pass in request, pass in booking ID, and over here, just pass like that. Do the same thing for payment field and just pass. Then over here, let's register those URLs. So, or those views, not URLs. So this one will be success slash then booking ID, because that is what we passed here. You can see. So booking ID slash, and the views is views dot payment success, and the name should obviously be success. And I'll do the same thing, but with the name field for the payment field. So this one will be payment field. This one should be field. So with that, we are pretty much done with the create checkout session. All we now need to do is write the code for the front end. So open up your let me see, that should be templates, hotels, checkout HTML. And just down here, I will create a new script. This one will be payments for Stripe. So the very first thing would be to go ahead and get our Stripe, just like we instantiated Stripe over here in the views. Remember when we did something like this, that is the same thing we want to do, but now in the template. So I will say, let me say var Stripe should be equal to, and I am able to use Stripe like this because I have imported it above using this CDN. So please make sure that you have this in your code. Stripe, then over here, I just want to say Stripe underscore publishable underscore key, which means we need to pass this in our checkout session. So in your checkout view, not checkout session, we need a way to actually pass the Stripe checkout. So for that one, open up your views, and this is checkout, right? Just down here, what did we call it? We called it this. It's in the checkout view, take note. So this should be settings dot, then I don't think I already have Stripe public key, so let me create it now. Stripe public key should be equal to env Stripe public key, which means you now have to create the key in your env. Okay, so Stripe public key should be equal to some random number also. Please replace this random number such as Stripe API key. Irregardless of the country that you are in, you can sign up a free Stripe account and grab your developer's test key and put it down here. Okay, so this one should be settings dot Stripe public key. So settings dot Stripe public key. As simple as that. That is what we want. So now that we've done that, that is pretty much what we want to do. Now we can be able to grab this in the checkout over here to instantiate Stripe. Now that you've done that, the next thing will be to go ahead and grab the checkout buttons. So I'll say var checkout button should be equal to document dot get element by ID. And what do we want to call it? Checkout button, which means we should look for a button called, wait, let me run my server again. Which means over here, this button that says pay with Stripe, give it an ID of checkout button, just like this, so that Stripe will be able to grab it from here. After doing that, I want to say checkout button dot add event listener, and we want to add a click event. As soon as we click on the pay with Stripe, what do we want to do? We want to run a function, and what should that function do? That function should start off by getting the user's email. So email should be documents.getElement by ID. You can grab the email, or you could say email should be booking.email. Booking.email, just like this. And what should be the next thing on our list? Now let's check. You can check if email is empty, then return an error. But email will not be empty because it's always required when a user is trying to create a checkout. All right. So now what we can do is go ahead and say checkout button dot inner HTML should be equal to processing. Then let me even create an I tag like this. Okay, something like this. And let me try this out now and see if it actually works as expected. Make sure that my site is opened up over here. And when I check out, I should have this page. And as soon as I click on this, see, processing, that is really nice. So when we process, let me actually print, not print, but let me log email. And let me also log Stripe to see what I have. So now open up my console log, click on this. See, it gets my email. It also gets Stripe. Guys, that is really nice. So now that we have these two things coming in as expected, please put that on one line. What I want to do now is go ahead and make a call to this checkout session, this one over here, to actually create a new checkout session for us. So what we could do is say, use the fetch API and say, make a call to, then you could pretty much pass in this /API/ then you could say booking, or you could just pass in booking ID. Okay, you could say booking. Okay, let's just say booking_ID. All right, as simple as that. So after you've passed this in, then in here, let's pass in the method that we want to actually use to run this. It should be a post method. What should be in the body? So JSON.stringify. I hope that is spelled correctly. So JSON.stringify, just like this. Yes, it's spelled correctly. Then for this one, I will say email should be whatever email that was passed in. That is all it requires. You can break the code apart just like this. And you see down here, what I want to then say is this. After this code has run and this parts section has run, it will return a response to us. Now this response is what we want to grab. So I will say then I'll create a function in here that will have a parameter of response. And what I pretty much want to do is return response.json. You can also go ahead and log response. So log response to see what we are getting. So let me try this out now. Let's see what we have. As soon as you click on this, see the response. This is the session that is, let's enlarge this and see. This is the body. This is the URL that it made to. This is the status 404, which means page not found. That is something is actually wrong. So page isn't found. Let me grab this and actually try making a call to it on a new tab. Page is obviously not found. So it should be API/ create checkout session / this. But why isn't this showing up over here? Booking ID is supposed to be showing up in the URLs. All right, that is because we did not add it. So please add your booking ID and it should show up. So after adding this, let's see. There you go. This is working, but it shows invalid API key provided. So guys, it's working now. See, after clicking on this again, can you see it's running, but it shows internal server error because there is an invalid API key, but it's actually working now as expected. So I want you guys to pause the video, set up a Stripe account, grab your secret and public key and put it in here. So I will go ahead and put mine in and I'll be back in a sec. So I have just passed in my secret key and public key, the live original ones that should work. Okay, I think I passed in the test, not the live. Okay, so after that, I will then go ahead and click pay with Stripe and see, this return this. Status is 200, which means everything is working well as expected. That is really cool. So back to the code, check out HTML. Now everything is working well. All we just need to do is go ahead and return the user to the checkout or to the Stripe page to then make the payment. So what I need to do is this dot, then I need to chain something to it. And what am I chaining? I will say function. And this function should still take a session parameter. I think there is a problem. So let me get rid of this and actually do it again. So we have the then looking like this, right? In here, what you want to pass in is a function. This function has this parameter, then session. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now what you pretty much want to do is go ahead and return to stripe dot redirect to checkout. Now I believe you can also find this from here. So when you open up, is it actually present here? I don't think so. Yeah, it's not. So when are we logging Stripe? If you log Stripe, you should be able to find that. So let me log Stripe here, which means if we now click on this, we should be able to see that show up. Let me reload this page. Yeah, we need to reload the page. Click on this and give it a sec. See, now we have all these things over here. Now what we are looking for is redirect to checkout. You can search for it. See, this is it over here, redirect to checkout. That is what we are looking for. And what does it require to be able to redirect to checkout? It requires a session ID written just like that. And remember that the session over here returns, can you see? It returns the session ID back to us in this key. So we can take that now and say session ID. Okay, so this session ID over here is pretty much this one that is called down here. Okay, so after we've done that, that is pretty much what we want to do. If everything goes well, then can we chain? Let me chain. I will create a new function here. I will say function, and let's pass in results. That's if everything actually went well as expected. I will say if result.error, if there is result.error, then let's alert results.error.message, just like that. And that should be it. Let's finally catch. So I will say dot catch, and in here I will create a function, and this function should take error. So what I pretty much want to do is pretty much log error should be error. So guys, that's pretty much it for the Stripe payments. Let's test this out now and see what we have. We can refresh this page and hit pay with Stripe. Okay, there's an error, integration error. Stripe the redirect to session. You must provide one of the line items or session ID. So we have a problem. See, the checkout session is actually coming in perfectly well as expected. This is it over here. In fact, if you click on this, you can see that it opens up this page, this Stripe page for us with the amounts that we need to pay. But you can also clearly see that over here, there is an error that's being shown here. So we need to see what this is. It says integration error, Stripe the redirect checkout. You must provide one of line items. Maybe we must have misspelled something in the views. This is line underscore items. Payment underscore method types, customer email. Let's check this out. The checkout, it took session, Stripe the redirect to checkout took session ID, and this is the session ID that it took. And if everything went well, we pretty much grabbed the results, and also we caught any error that might actually be thrown. Okay, I will go ahead and instantiate this JSON like this. Instead of just logging it, put it out like this, instantiate it. Let's reload this page and see if that was the issue. If that is not it, then we'll look for what the problem is. Okay, there you go. It's working, guys. It's working. So that was the problem. As you can see now, we can pay for this. I will get back to the checkout page. This is the total right now. How about we add in a coupon code? And see, coupon is activated, and now we should have a new total, which is this. We can go ahead and pay with Stripe now. So paying with Stripe, then it should return us back to the Stripe checkout page. So over here now, you could go ahead and make a payment. Let me switch this to pay as guest. And I will just put in any of this over here. So my Stripe API key has been activated to pay with Google Pay and Link. That is why we can see this. Full name on card, I will just pass in anything. Destiny Franks. This is just a test card and I will pay. Okay, you can see that is going and everything works well as expected. It says the view hotel view payment success, then return a response. It returned none instead. Guys, that's it's working well as expected, but it's return none is pretty much because we passed over here in the views. You can see that we just passed instead of returning something that is actually what's seen. We just passed. Okay, so in case if you return, let's say like HTTP response and you said payment successful, and let's make sure to import HTTP response. And for this one, we said payment failed. We can now clearly see that when we reload this page, see payment successful. So guys, Stripe payment is working perfectly well as expected. If you have the source code, I will update this and add a line by line comment to better explain what is going on. That is if you have the source code. If you don't have the source code, you can actually pause the video always. This is the full code and go through the code, type it out like this. If you have any question, let's say you don't understand the block of code, you can just copy this and paste it in the comment section below, and I will be more than happy to explain this to you. For now, that's pretty much it for the payments using PayPal and Stripe. Everything is now working as expected. In the next one, we should now work with the success page, which pretty much means that as soon as we get redirected to the success page, we should authenticate the order and do things like maybe send notification if we are to do that. If we are not to do that, we mark the order as paid, send email if we are to do that. You know, you get the idea. That's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Do make sure to check out the links in the description. One of them should help you in becoming a better Python Django developer. Just like I said, if you have any question, we can talk in the question and answer section below. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, mad love. Peace out.